Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Los Angeles fire and the fire tornado in the Quran. Los Angeles, California, USA, is still struggling to fight a massive forest fire. The fire that has been going on since Tuesday, January 7th, 2025, has gotten worse due to the combination of strong Santa Ana winds and the emergence of a fire tornado, firenado. It should be noted that the fire that burned the forest and settlements has caused extraordinary damage, claiming at least 11 lives and destroying more than 10,000 buildings. As many as 70,000 residents have been evacuated from the affected area, while several other areas are still under lockdown orders. Evacuations are ongoing, and firefighters are struggling to control the fire that continues to spread. Despite all efforts, the condition of the fire is still very critical. The losses caused by this fire are enormous. It is estimated that the economic losses due to this disaster will reach around 150 billion US dollars, or equivalent to 2,428 billion Indonesian rupiah. Insurance losses are estimated to exceed $20 billion, and that number could rise further if the fires continue to spread. In addition, the damage to infrastructure, both public and commercial, adds to the severity of the disaster. This fire will likely go down as one of the costliest disasters in California history. Fire tornado. In the midst of a raging fire, a rare and very dangerous phenomenon appears. Fire tornado, or better known as firenado, can be seen at several points in the burning area. This fire tornado is formed when extreme heat from a fire causes hot air to move rapidly upwards, creating a vortex column that carries fire. This vortex moves with wind speeds that can reach more than 160 kilometers per hour, enough to spread embers to other areas and worsen the already raging fire. This fire tornado can reach a height of tens of meters and carries a very high temperature, enough to burn various materials around it. One incident that is a real example of the fire tornado phenomenon is the major fire that occurred in 2018, known as the Carr Fire. The fire produced a fire tornado with a diameter of around 300 meters, with wind speeds equivalent to a hurricane. Although it has been observed in several major fires, this fire tornado phenomenon is still considered something new in the scientific world. Then, although much attention has been paid, research into the process of its formation and characteristics is still very limited. Fire tornadoes are mentioned in the Quran. In fact, the description of a fire tornado is not a foreign phenomenon in the Islamic religious view. In the Al-Quran, specifically in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 266, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has described a phenomenon that is very similar to a fire tornado. Allah says, أَيَوَدُّ أَحَدُكُمْ أَن تَكُونَ لَهُ جَنَّةٌ مِّن نَخِيلٍ وَأَعْنَابٍ تَجْرِي مِن تَحْتِهَا الْأَنْهَارُ لَهُ فِيهَا مِن كُلِّ الثَّمَرَةِ وَأَصَابَهُ الْكِبَرُ وَلَهُ ذُرِّيَّةٌ ضُعَفَاءُ فَأَصَابَهَا إِعْصَارٌ فِيهِ نَارٌ فَاحْتَرَقَتْ كَذَلِكَ يُبَيِّنُ اللَّهُ لَكُمُ الْآيَاتِ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَفَكَّرُونَ. Is there anyone among you who would like to have a garden of dates and grapes, beneath which rivers flow? He had in the garden all kinds of fruit. Then old age came to him, while he had small offspring. Then the garden was attacked by a strong whirling wind, in which there was fire, and the garden burned down. Thus Allah explains His verses to you so that you think about them. QS Al-Baqarah 266. In this verse, Allah describes a disaster that is very similar to a fire tornado. A whirling wind in which there is fire, إِعْصَارٌ فِيهِ نَارٌ, destroys the garden until nothing remains. In Ibn Kathir's interpretation, the term إِعْصَارٌ فِيهِ نَارٌ, إِشُرٌ فِيهِ النَّارُ, is explained as a whirling wind that brings destruction. Imam al-Qurtubi and Imam at-Tabari also provide similar explanations. Both of them state that the verse describes a whirlwind with destructive characteristics, which we now know as a fire tornado. The description given in the Quran about this phenomenon illustrates how accurate the description is with a fire tornado. Although the phenomenon of a fire tornado was only understood by modern science in the 21st century, the fact that this phenomenon is mentioned in a holy book that was revealed more than 1,400 years ago provides a miracle in itself in understanding the depth of knowledge contained in the Quran. The fire tornadoes that appear in the midst of the massive fires in California, as we witness today, are a stark reminder of the impacts of climate change and the importance of preserving nature. This phenomenon, which worsens the fires and causes even more destruction, also implies a deeper symbolic message. The nature that we destroy through irresponsible behavior can bring disasters that not only harm ourselves, but also worsen environmental instability. By paying attention to the phenomenon of fire tornadoes recorded in the Quran, we are invited to reflect on the various destructions that occur in this world, both in physical form, such as the forest fires in California, and in a symbolic sense that reminds us of the dangers that arise from human negligence in preserving the earth. This also reminds us to stay away from arrogance and injustice towards fellow creatures. The most just God always listens to the prayers of his oppressed servants and will repay all forms of oppression with his justice. Nothing is coincidence. For a Muslim, everything that happens in this world is certainly by the permission and will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, including the fire disaster that hit Los Angeles. Even though experts with their scientific logic reveal that the causative factor is extreme weather, fire, wind, dry vegetation, all are creatures of Allah. With his permission and power, everything is moved easily to destroy luxurious residences, leaving only debris and ashes from the fire. All human logic collapses. All their intelligence in organizing harmonious city planning disappears. Even when arrogance occurs in humans, Allah easily destroys it. Aren't the previous stories enough lessons for humans today? How did rainwater drown the people of Prophet Noah, or the people of Prophet Lut, who Allah destroyed with a terrible earthquake because they disobeyed and instead committed sins? Then isn't it a lesson that King Abraha's elephant army was destroyed, which was about to destroy the Kaaba, when it was attacked by a group of other creatures of Allah, namely Ababil birds with hot stones on their feet? Logically speaking, a human, a bird, would be easily defeated by an elephant. However, God easily broke this logic. A flock of birds was able to ravage and even destroy King Abraha's entire army of elephants. Everything will be easy for Allah. If Allah has willed, it will be, it will be. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّمَا أَمْرُهُ إِذَا أَرَادَ شَيْءٍ أَنْ يَقُولَ لَهُ كُنْ فَيَكُونَ. Indeed, his condition, when he wills something, is only to say to it, be, then it happened. QS Yasin 82. Los Angeles fire. In January 2025, a massive fire swept through Los Angeles, California. The winter that should have brought calm was instead marred by this tragic event. Prolonged drought due to global climate change made the forests and land around Los Angeles highly flammable. Coupled with strong Santa Ana winds, the fire spread rapidly and caused massive damage. One of the extraordinary phenomena that occurred during this fire was the emergence of a fire tornado, or scientifically known as a fire whirl. This phenomenon adds to the terrifying impression of the fire, considering how difficult this phenomenon was for the firefighting team to control. What is a fire tornado? A fire tornado is a whirlwind that forms around a large fire. This phenomenon occurs when hot air from the fire rises rapidly and mixes with rotating winds. The result is a rotating column of fire with tornado-like force, which can move at high speeds and devour everything in its path. Scientifically, a fire tornado is the result of a combination of high temperatures, flammable materials, and unstable winds. This phenomenon is rare but very destructive, and can even throw embers far away, expanding the area of the fire. Fire tornadoes in the Quranic perspective. In January 2025, Los Angeles experienced a devastating fire that was fueled by a rare phenomenon called a fire tornado, or firenado. This phenomenon occurs when strong winds interact with fire, smoke, and ash, forming a whirlpool of fire that rotates at high speeds. A fire tornado forms when the extreme heat from a fire causes hot air to rise rapidly, creating a column of swirling flames that carries the flames. These whirlpools can reach wind speeds of over 100 miles per hour, 160 kilometers per hour, spreading embers to other areas and worsening existing fires. Interestingly, a similar phenomenon is mentioned in the Quran, specifically in Surah Al-Baqarah verse 266. Does any of you wish to have a garden of date palms and grapes with rivers flowing beneath them, with all kinds of fruits in them? Then a wind containing fire comes, and it catches fire. This verse describes a strong wind carrying fire, causing the garden to burn down. This description is similar to the phenomenon of fire tornadoes that occurred in Los Angeles, where strong winds and extreme heat created destructive fire whirls. This incident reminds us of the importance of protecting nature and the environment. Climate change and environmental damage can trigger devastating natural disasters, such as forest fires and fire tornadoes. As humans, we have a responsibility to maintain the balance of nature. As mentioned in the Quran, corruption has appeared on land and sea because of what the hands of men have earned, so that Allah may make them taste a part of their deeds, in order that they may return to the right path. By understanding and reflecting on these verses, it is hoped that we can be wiser in protecting and preserving the environment, preventing greater disasters in the future. Although the term fire tornado is not mentioned directly in the Quran, the concept of burning fire and destructive winds is explained in several verses. One of them is in Surah Al-Baqarah 56:41-44. And the left group, who is the left group? In torture, very hot winds and boiling water, and under the cover of black smoke, it is not cool and unpleasant. This verse describes a combination of hot winds, fire, and destruction, which is relevant to the description of a fire tornado. In another context, burning fire is also mentioned in Surah Al-Humazah 104:6-7. That is the fire, hell, that Allah kindled, which burns up to the heart. These verses show how fire can be a symbol of warning and destruction, reminding humans to maintain harmony with nature and not destroy it. Origins of fire tornadoes. Fire tornadoes have been around for a long time, although they have only been scientifically understood in the last few decades. One of the most famous incidents occurred in 1923 in Japan, when the Great Kanto earthquake triggered massive fires that resulted in fire tornadoes. This phenomenon killed more than 38,000 people in a short time. Historically, fire tornadoes have also been recorded during major fires in Australia, the United States, and Europe. However, with climate change worsening environmental conditions, the phenomenon is becoming more common in many parts of the world. Lessons from this event. The Los Angeles fires and the fire tornado phenomenon are reminders to humanity about the importance of preserving nature. In the Islamic perspective, humans are given the mandate to be caliphs on earth, as mentioned in Surah Al-Baqarah 2:30. Remember when your Lord said to the angels, "Indeed, I am going to make a caliph on earth." As caliphs, humans are responsible for protecting the environment and preventing destructive actions, such as deforestation, wild burning, and excessive energy use. Conclusion. The Los Angeles fires in January 2025 and the accompanying fire tornado phenomenon are a reflection of the increasingly unbalanced relationship between humans and nature. In the Quran, fire is often a symbol of warning and a reminder of Allah's power. This event teaches the importance of preserving the environment, mitigating the impacts of climate change, and playing an active role in protecting the earth as a mandate from the Creator.